Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Inside Tack. And as you have probably seen, we're having quite a lot of fun with our race boat RB3. And we're beginning now, we've done the commissioning phase and we're beginning to push the limits a little bit. And the reason we're confident to do that is because we have two key people that come out onto the water every day. We have a safety diver, Jackson Griffin. His background is in the British military, specialising in underwater parts of the British military, and that's all I'll say, but is an absolutely top man, and he's got some great stories for us in this episode. And then alongside Jackson, we have Steve Doherty, who has been with the RNLI for 10 years. He has worked within the London air ambulances all over the country. And he tells me that every time he goes out on Chase 4, we are as well equipped as one of those London air ambulances. So we are in great shape for any incidents that occur on the water. So we're going to get a good insight into their world and how they support us. And just for a little bit of context from the sailor side of things, we have AC40 helmsman and legendary cyclor Ben Cornish, who's going to add just the sailing side of things and how we interact with these key people on the water. Welcome back to the Inside Tack podcast. You join us back here in Barcelona. And the theme of today's podcast is around safety and how far the America's Cup has come in the last 10 years. We make a big song and dance about how fast the boats have got. And with that increase in speed, we also have an increase in risk. So we have going to open the shed doors today, introduce you to some cracking personalities that work with us, that keep us safe and sound. The first person to introduce is Ben Cornish, one of our helmsmen, one of our test helmsmen, one of our cyclors, and he's going to talk to us on the pod today around how it impacts him on the safety side of things. And Ben, you're the perfect guy to get on the pod because you've been involved with us for 10 years. And I'd like to say every major safety incident that we've had in those 10 years you've been involved in.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I thought you were going to introduce me as keeping you safe, and I'm not the guy for that.
No, absolutely
I think
not.
That's probably fair.
So I think Ben is like the perfect guy to talk about the safety side of things from the sailing point of view. Next to introduce is Stephen Doherty.
Morning.
Safety Steve, as we call him.
That's that one.
And our on-the-water paramedic. And Steve, your background in keeping people safe and well is...
Oh, yeah, so started off in the lifeboats, the RNLI, back in Ireland. Back when I was a young nipper, back when I was 16. And then when I was 18 and legal, so to speak, joined the ambulance service in London.
Right.
And I've been continuing both ambulance and lifeboat throughout that journey.
Oh my goodness.
And it sort of leads me to here today.
And you're also a sailor, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, not a very good one, but yeah.
No, nor am I, mate. We're here, aren't we? Fake it till you make it is my rule, but you definitely don't fake it as a paramedic. I've seen your safety boxes, and we'll get into that. And last but not least, we've got Jackson Griffin. Jackson, from a military background, you are our safety diver, and you're the guy that whenever it's a little bit windy and we walk down the dock, I go, yes, we've got Griff here to keep us safe and well. And Griff, your background before you came and joined us in Barca.
Yeah, mate. Military background for myself. Spent the first 3 years of my career in the Marines, and then I moved on to another unit for the last 9 years. And the last 2 years of being in that unit was quite specialised in the maritime world,
right? Diving
and stuff like that. So
okay.
that was a pretty good sort of transition to this world, because it's kind of similar with regards to the safety and stuff, because things in the military, safety-wise, have amped up as well. So
right.
That's quite good to transition to the civilian safety world.
And Griff, how have you found it? Like, as you said, you've had over a decade in the British military at the very top level amongst the elite, and you've come and joined a sailing team competing for the America's Cup. How have you found that transition, bud?
It's been terrible. No, I'm only joking. No, it's been really good. It's a really good team. All the lads are great, and ladies, like the whole team is all working at a really high level. I think that's the key. Is everyone's on a mission, focused on the mission, and just working their best to achieve it. If that means having to push yourselves that little bit harder, then that's what you got to do, and that's what everyone does. Everyone's got each other's backs, and it's a really good working environment, and I've enjoyed it so far.
Right, and Cornish, your kind of interactions with Griff up till now are obviously you've had your few bits and bobs going on the water, as we've said, but safety training for us is a huge side of things. So you know that when you've got a morning booked in with Griff down by the swimming pool or on the dock, what's he got lined up for you, bud?
Yeah, it's a good question. We kept you busy, haven't we, so far?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, the safety side of it is probably quite a good insight if people aren't familiar with what we do. Obviously, you see the boats out hacking around at 50 knots, and the safety element that comes with that is massive. The preparation side of it that we do as a sailing team and the guys that are on the water with us is huge as well. And a bit of an overview of what we do is obviously we all carry spare airs with us. Being able to be comfortable to be upside down in a boat and finding your gear to get yourself out of there and look after your teammates around you at the same time is, it's quite uncomfortable, I guess, if you were to start having never done it before. And you see that with the new guys coming into the team, you put them through the drills that Griff runs, and the looks on their faces when they pop up, they're white, aren't they? They're like, fucking hell, why are you making me do this?
It's not pleasant.
And I guess it comes, the more you do it, you get more comfortable, which is the idea, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think when I first joined and got an idea of everyone's experience and started thinking about like worst case scenarios and people's abilities and experience and that kind of stuff, I thought rather than just try and like thrash everyone, which I didn't think is particularly helpful, I just thought the best thing to do is probably just build everyone's confidence, being in a sort of, slightly uncomfortable and sort of alien environment, i.e. being stuck underwater and breathing off a cylinder. So that was the kind of focus of the training we've done so far, and there's definitely scope to increase the difficulty and make it even more uncomfortable and push the lads a bit further. But yeah, for me, I think it's just getting guys confident in the water, being in a bit of a strange environment, and just knowing that their kit works. And when they relax in a stressful environment, then it just makes everything easier. Everything's far more likely to turn out, better if everyone's chilled and relaxed. And that just comes from just drills and being exposed to that environment. So get the lads in the swimming pool and use their kit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and talking about kit and kit familiarisation is key to us. The man on the base with the most kit that I've ever seen is the walking ambulance safety, Steve. Steve, you make me laugh every day when you walk from the gym where you store all your paramedic kit down to the yacht. You're carrying, we worked it out,
65 kilograms.
65 kilograms of medical kit.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell the story. My mum came down the other day to visit me, and she went to the America's Cup Museum, and she saw and it's worth a trip, really, America's Cup experience, should I say. And she went into the big cinema, and she came out of it, and she was like, "Oh, David, I'm not that happy with this. It all looks a bit unsafe." And I said, "Right, let me introduce you to Safety Steve." And you spent half an hour with my mum, and you talked her through every bit of kit, and she left very happy. So Steve, give us the kind of condensed version of that chat you gave my mum to make her feel at ease.
Yeah, absolutely. So, being a sailor and also being quite a passionate pre-hospital care practitioner, you've got to, if you want to deliver a level of care to a very high standard, you've got to be passionate about the environment that you're operating in. So may that be an ambulance, may that be an A&E setting, or may that be like a GP surgery or minor injuries. So for me, this sort of combines all the loves into one setting. And obviously arriving here, I only started in January, so pretty early doors for me. Come in with a lot of knowledge and experience from different industries, specifically the maritime rescue, from aviation to lifeboats and special operations teams. And as a UK registered paramedic, people don't realise the scope of practice that you have. So when we talk about scope of practice, we're looking at like drug interventions, advanced airway tools, and recognition of critically unwell patients. So for me coming in here, I had to bring that kit with me. So obviously that involved sourcing all the kit and getting the funding for the kit. So to be fair, the team have been absolutely outstanding in that regard.
Am I right in saying that you mentioned that you personally and the stuff you have on the chase boats is better kitted out than some of the services you've worked with historically?
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So the level of kit and skills that we have on board the chase boat at the minute would be similar to that of a UK air ambulance. Yeah.
Fills you with confidence, eh, Cornish?
Yeah, it's good.
So that's including all actual physical devices and then all the drugs that we would take to the scene of any major incident in the UK, and we've got that here in Barcelona.
On that note, Cornish, as he said, we're cutting about in these little 40-foot test boats, and we'll very soon be sailing in our big boats. With these guys on the water, does it make a difference? Does it mean you can kind of push more, do you think? It does. It does for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, just walking down the dock, and it's more the big days that you're heading out for, windier or trickier conditions. Just having that reassurance that something can go wrong quite quickly. And I guess the thing to think about when you're out there training, you could be 10, 15 miles from home, and you've got a good support team around you with the chase boats and everything, but the reality is to get from there to a place of help is quite a long time. So having these guys, 30 seconds away on a chase boat is pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we operate, I mean, the amount of work you guys do in the background, it's always surprising to me. And I loved the other day just seeing you obviously work with the Athena Pathway guys as well, and really important to instill that confidence in them. But I love seeing you 2 days ago just pop up on the AC40 with the new guys with a spinal board and say, right, okay, let's talk through this. And it feels to me more than ever, you guys are just constantly giving people a little nudge to think about those kind of situations. Yeah, on that, like, I haven't got the mindset of you guys. It blows my mind how calm you can stay under pressure. I remember sort of asking you, how often have you used that bit of kit historically, Steve? And you'd be like, oh yeah, 2 or 3 times a week, like major life-saving bit of equipment. Does that kind of staying calm under pressure come naturally to your griff, or is it something that you learn in the military, and it's something that transcends across the team now? I feel is your mindset under pressure.
I think probably it's a bit of all of those things, I reckon. I think people who tend to go into those jobs will probably be like that naturally a little bit.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't seek out a job as a paramedic if you panic at the first sight of blood.
Yeah.
But,
Pretty suboptimal, all right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of, that's kind of your natural personality. But then I think probably the bigger thing is just experience. I mean, obviously the first time you deal with a serious casualty, and, the 300th casualty you've dealt with is going to be pretty different, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's just that experience, and also just knowing like the team around you and their experience levels and their capabilities and competence levels. If you're surrounded by a decent team, then you're going to chill out and relax, and there's nothing to worry about, I think.
And you're obviously, with your background, your level of sort of medical care is right up there as well, right? So you're backing up Safety Steve the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's on a totally different level to me, but I did focus a little bit in my military career in the med side of things.
Right.
So yeah, I did get a decent amount of training. I'd say more than quite a lot of people did. So I was quite lucky in that regard.
Right.
I'd rather have you there on the boat than any of my ambulance colleagues.
Steve, stop
that's
it.
a loving. What a loving. Hey, Steve.
That is the nicest thing anyone's ever said to
not
me.
me. But that is a point. You two also do upskill the sailors, because you're the first responders, but there is a 30-second window where the sailors on board, if there's an incident, have to respond.
I think a big part of it is in any rescue arena that you operate in, if you want to maintain professional standards and to ultimately save lives, you cannot become complacent at any point, at any day, at any point. And for example, when we had that fire on a boat A. 10 minutes prior to the fire, I was discussing with the operations manager Hendo what we were going to do if something went wrong, because we were we knew that we're operating outside of our normal operating area.
And that's like the incident manual.
Yeah,
There's a huge document, an incident manual that you guys know inside out. You point out to us the key bits, but you operate off that, as do Hendo and Jeff and the key people ashore, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically keeping us safe, so to speak, because it's very easily when you're two boat testing, especially, and you're doing, say, tuning runs, and you're getting good data or whatever, just keep pushing it. But before you know it, you're 25, 30 mile away from your safe haven.
Yeah.
So it's just having that, just sometimes throttle back, discuss, do we need to turn around, head back, what's the conditions like, what's the fronts doing, is the sea state building? Yeah. And it's just having that overall sort of safety eye. As much as that falls to the operations managers, we'll often give them a nudge and be like, we're not stealing your thunder here, but let's just consider this.
Yeah, just consider that part of the job, really. Then you just sort of think about worst case scenarios and how to mitigate and what you would do if it does happen. Just consider that as part of our job role, really.
And that's an ongoing conversation on your chase boat that you guys are having away from like the performance loop and all of that. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, Griff, we've been lucky enough in our team to rub shoulders with your old unit a bit, and they're a phenomenal group of guys that we've learned a lot of. And one of my favourite quotes, and Cam, you're going to have to beep this out a little bit in the pod because we're family friendly, is that your old unit is, let me get this right, is the best at un***ing a situation. And for me, a lot of that, and the biggest thing I've learned off the British military is it's around communication. And I want to say the word minimise to you and what that means to you and how you've brought it to our team.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I guess the word minimise for me is just you need to only convey, especially in an emergency situation, just convey the most important information that's actually relevant to anything. Reduce the chatter, make sure that if anything is said, it's relevant and is not clogging up the comms, because I think if during an incident the comms is absolutely crucial. Everyone needs to know what's going on, everyone needs to know the plan, what's going to happen next. And for me, minimize is just a case of cut out the pointless chatter and let's just focus on only saying things that are relevant. It's a good quote. That's why I joined that unit, is when I heard that quote and I was like, awesome. I thought that's what I want to be.
You're the perfect guy to a situation.
Probably had we've had our fair share of ups in this campaign, haven't we, when it comes to boats capsizing, setting on fire, sinking.
But sorry, Cord, to stop you right there. Like, I think at this point it is relevant to say we're used to capsizing is now the norm, right? Whereas 10 years ago, if a boat capsized, it would be a big panic. To not trivialize it, we do go out and capsize, and that's fine because it means you're pushing. It's like a Formula One car going off the track, right?
Yeah.
But I take your point. We have had a bit of a journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly moved on, even just from the last campaign. I mean, we never tipped one of our boats over from memory.
Correct, no.
This time round, I mean, I've probably got the highest tally personally, but
go on, give us the stats, mate.
Count.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But yeah, like you say, it's become a lot of the norm, and you're pushing the boats to the limit. The conditions are more challenging here with the sea state than they were in Auckland.
Yeah.
So the boats are harder to sail, I think. And as we break into the racing period, I'm sure even the big boats, it'll be quite common that someone loses a race by tipping it in, which last campaign, if someone put a boat on its side, it was done for the day or maybe a couple of days.
Well, look at American Magic, right?
Yeah.
The
AC40 is a great example. You can capsize that thing, pull it upright with the rib, and be sailing again in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
So capsizing is one thing. As I said, for me now, capsizing kind of equates to running off a track on a Formula One car. It's going to happen. It's unfortunate, and the processes are in place to make it safe. But obviously with boat A, not that long ago, we had a battery fire. Now, Ben, you were on that boat going downwind. Just talk to us about kind of what happened there, and then let's just talk through your two guys, how you responded to that specific situation.
Yeah, it was not an overly windy day, but quite choppy, wasn't it? It was a good sea state, and we were out on a 2-boat testing day, quite a long way from home, way up the coast, and going downwind. And normally we've had a few telltales of some electrical issues. You get a bit of a smell, and normally not too much of a major. This time there was not much of a telltale, just an immediate plume of smoke coming into the cockpits.
Wow.
So it was something that happened extremely quick.
The only way I could describe it, sorry to interrupt, Ben, was, do you know when an F1 car is bombing down the straight and its engine explodes?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked
Really?
like from the chase boat.
So from the chase boat, you were like, hang on.
That's an engine gone. Yeah, but obviously that's the battery.
The battery gone.
Yeah.
Right.
There was that much smoke.
I mean, at the time, it feels like an eternity, I think, from it happening until stuff getting under control. But in reality, we debriefed it all afterwards, didn't we? And it was surprisingly fast from the point of recognizing there's a fire on board to having the situation under control. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it was seriously quick.
I bet Griff knows that number.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 minutes or something like that.
That's pretty impressive.
And
That was 6 minutes to the battery submerged, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, smoke reported. Lads investigated. We was coming up to assist. Fire extinguishers were deployed. I think there's probably about 5 or 6 of them. Didn't really do much.
Wow.
And then I was on board. Steve was getting the pumps going, and then got the pump in there, started flooding the boat. And yeah, from that first report of smoke to the battery submerged and the fire being contained and, quote unquote safe and out.
Sure.
I think it was about 6 minutes from the top of my head, 6 to 7 minutes, something like that. I think it's pretty good going, really.
Yeah, that's really good going.
I think it pays credit as well. I mean, probably not by coincidence. Maybe a week before we did a run on the dock, didn't we?
Yeah.
And all the kit that we need in these scenarios, we've got the big crash pumps, salvage pumps, which we normally use for getting water out the yacht if it was sinking. And these guys, they break everyone's balls, make people go around and, prime the pumps, make sure you know how to turn it on, get it running, which, at the time you're like, oh, come on, we don't need to do it again. And then when the hits the fan, you want to know that everyone on the water can get one of those things fired up and working in 30 seconds.
And Cornish, you sucked in a bit of smoke, right? Like you had a pretty unpleasant few minutes, and Steve, you were straight on board. And I remember you saying when you came ashore that sort of the around lithium battery inhalation and not very well known about. So you actually sent off Cornish's stats to like the British Medical Journal or study or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I get paid for that.
Yeah, you are actually. Yeah. You're a test bunny. They just want you to suck on a bit more smoke to reconfirm.
You have no idea what's coming next. So obviously, sort of initial lithium exposure from aerosols, because it's still such a new technology. As pre-hospital practitioners, we traditionally in like sort of mainland UK, if you had a fire, say of a car with lithium aerosols, we would be 20-30 minutes away in a standard ambulance response, for example. So sometimes we don't capture that exposure and how the body responds to it, but because you basically have stood beside you whenever it happened, we managed to capture a lot of data very quickly, with some changes on that. So it was good to record them and send them off to some boffins back in the UK to analyze it and to see if we need to adapt our practice. With that. Yeah. I
mean that amazed me. Your defibrillator. Can you say it?
Yeah, it's a monitor defibrillator.
There you go. You got it. It kind of is a computer within itself, obviously, that saves lives, but then it pings out all the data. So if we're having a big moment on the water, the casualty arrives at hospital and it talks to the hospital, lets them know all the drugs the patient's had, everything since they've been hooked up to that machine, and the hospital just takes that information and takes over, right?
Yeah, so the minute you press the machine on, turn it on, it's got it's built-in scribe, so to speak.
Yeah.
So if it's a cardiac arrest or if it's a breathing problem, it's capturing all the data live time, stamping it into the machine.
Yeah.
And then prior to us handing over to the local ambulance here in Barcelona, I press send on the machine and all that telemetry goes to the local hospital. So they will have exactly what's happened and what's been done and what's been given before the patient's even there.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty nifty.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Right, it would be remiss of us to talk around safety in the America's Cup without talking about the sort of terrible accident that our good friend Andrew Bart Simpson had in 2013. And I kind of look at where we've been in the sport in the last 10 to 15 years, like Formula One in the kind of 60s or 70s, where the cars then were getting seriously fast and the world was kind of keeping up. And I see the journey we've been on in the Cup world like that. The boats have got fast for the first time ever. And obviously there was a pivot in our safety response with the accident of Bart, and his memory lives on. And there's no doubt that if he hadn't had that accident back then, he would be with us here at INEOS Britannia, actually. So to have the likes of you two guys here at the level that you are qualified to look after us now is phenomenal, right, Ben?
Yeah. I think, like you say, the last decade, the sport is just accelerated so much. You're out there now with two boats pointing at each other, doing the best part of 50 knots each. You think it's a far cry from 10, 15 years ago, right? When you were out doing...
Absolutely. 10 knots.
10.
If you broke double figures, you'd high five, yeah.
And, those boats back then, maybe a bit more bulletproof if they were to rub shoulders, whereas now you've got foils hanging out the side and boats that are coming within a couple of meters of each other doing that speed. The potential for injury and damage is off the Richter, isn't it?
Absolutely. Right. I think we've spoken about enough heavy stuff there. And man, you learn every time you sit with these guys, you learn a fair bit about everything in life, and it makes you readjust your scope at how you look at your day to day. But let's move it on to a few quick-fire questions. Now, Steve, you're known around the base as one of the most serious guys on the water. When you're off the water, maybe you're a little bit of a practical joker. Can you...
No.
Oh, come on, man. Top of
all.
your head, who have you had on the wind-up round the base in the last few months?
I think the whole base.
I
think everyone.
Yeah.
Look, there was one Monday morning. I think we just come off the two boat testing. Boat A had just sort of caught fire. Everyone was a bit sort of
a bit
sort
down
of
in the dumps.
bit deflated,
I agree,
because we were having so much fun with like the pre-start practice stuff. Anyway, I was like, you know what this team needs? A good wind up. Like, I've been here 2 months, nothing's happened. I was like, I'll just take the reins for this one. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if you want to get a rumour spread around a base, who do you go and find?
Yeah.
Australians, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Very true.
I was like, where's the Australians? I was like, so I found it was Harley and Hainsey. I was like, have you heard the news? They were like, what? I was like, me and Griff were getting 2 jet skis. And they were like, what do you need those for? I was like, well, results from the fire, we weren't there quick enough. Me and Griff, we were on jet skis and we had fire extinguishers on the back.
I still think it's a great idea.
So we went down the whole jet ski yarn. And
oh man, it got some legs, eh?
It
got some legs.
It got, well, then we thought we'd up the gear a bit, so we did an artist impression.
That's right.
On a document, and we just set them down in random locations, so like the canteen, the gym, the design office.
And I have one of our lead chase boat drivers, Brendan, who's a South African, Far East South African as they all are. I mean, he really took it quite seriously, didn't he?
Yeah.
He wasn't best pleased about it, was he?
Apparently, we were running our own project.
But there is something. I mean,
It was, to be fair to him, it kind of got a bit too far when I went into him at the end of a very busy Friday, and I was like, "Sorry, Brendan, can I have 2 shelves in your container for the jet ski parts?" I think that was one step too far.
oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Right,
And he
move.
loves his shelves.
He
He
loves,
does
he
love
loves
his
his
shelves.
shelves.
To be
His
fair,
shelves is like
they are
quite a
quite
big
well
deal.
organised. Yeah, Griff. Whenever we're walking down to the dock, I quite like your little section, your little container in and around the safety equipment and the comms container. You've always got a bit of music going, right? As you're prepping up for the day, it must be a military thing and it gets you in the headspace. So, question to all 3 of you. There's an INEOS Britannia rock band, okay? I want a lead singer, a drummer, and a lead guitarist. Cornish, who's your lead singer?
Somebody told me the other day actually that Fred is a very good singer. I don't know if that's fact or fiction.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll go with that.
Hydraulics Fred. Electronics
Electrics
Fred.
Fred.
Really? Good singer?
Yeah.
Songbird of his generation. Steve's laughing.
There's
You
the name of the
disagree?
band. Electric Fred.
Electric Fred. Electric Fred.
That's a good one, yeah.
No, I was just thinking of my lead singer. Mine's
Go on, who is it?
Bob.
I was
Bob.
thinking,
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob.
That would be
Bob's
so.
Athena.
Yeah, we're all one.
Yeah, that's
He's
pretty
mysterious, isn't he, Bob?
cool. Yeah.
He's very lead singery.
He's got those vibes.
Yeah, he has got drummer. Griff, can you think of it? In fact, you've got drummer looks, to be honest. Slightly
Yeah.
Dave Grohl, Nirvana kind of vibe.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have a clue what I was doing, but I could hit stuff.
Well, yeah,
I know that.
as you proved in your previous employment, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
I've seen you
I'll-
on the punch bag. Oh my goodness.
I'll take that. I'll
Yeah,
be,
okay.
I'll be the drummer. Yeah.
Right, lead guitarist. Come on, safety.
Lead guitarist.
Like, I'm thinking extravagant,
yeah.
like big hair. You know,
Lead guitarist, that's a very good question. I'd like to see Parko on the guitar.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. I reckon he'd
He'd be
good.
into it, eh?
I reckon he would.
So Luke Parkinson, one of our Cyclaws / pilots, like he's full commitment on everything, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You could see him losing his mind doing a sick solo, couldn't you?
Yeah. And then he'd chuck the guitar just like he chucks fire extinguisher.
Oh, really? He's a fire extinguisher thrower, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Talk me through that.
Yeah, it was during the fire. We were approaching on the chase boat. And it was all like, this is the initial response, always quite sort of disorganized, but soon falls into an organized fashion. But as we were approaching, all we could see was these 9-cylinder fire extinguishers about 15 foot in the air in no set direction. They were just like uncontrollable
Yeah,
size.
Parker is not shy to sort of take the lead and lead the way in the fire extinguisher usage.
It's funny that he backs himself as he is a good rugby player, but maybe he needs to do a little bit less sailing and dial back in with the passing.
I reckon he could get a first for Wales, definitely.
Well, let's be honest, Steve. Anyone could play for Wales right now. Let's be honest. Right, so you're obviously in the chase boat all day,
Yeah.
chucking down race marks, pulling up race marks. Who do you reckon's the best race mark puller upper? Because that's quite the task.
On
Certainly
chase
not Coach
4.
Robbie. He avoids it.
It's
like
definitely
the
not
plague.
Cam.
Definitely not Cam. Producer Cam, shout out.
I'd say you, Steve.
Steve's got the most enthusiasm for it, from
Yeah.
what I've heard.
I do go for it.
But then he
Yeah.
does come to my container afterwards. He says, "It out, taking so many."
It's when Safi drops them 120 meters.
No, I feel like Xavi finds the deepest bit of water in the Med to lay a race course.
Yeah. But fair play. Now, to be fair, Elle's very good.
Ah, there
Yeah,
you
she's
go.
very good. She puts on her gloves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's proper.
Safety
first.
never takes a holiday.
Yeah, definitely.
Very
And
good.
she does go for it.
Oh, very good.
We do have good banter on Chase 4. I did suggest to Cam that we should do like a special feature, day in the life of Chase 4.
Day in the life of Chase 4.
Because there's a lot of practical jokes goes on
Would
Chase
it? Would
4.
it be?
Serious as
Could it
is.
go out before Watershed or not? I mean,
I reckon.
is there a family-friendly version?
Now we're post 10 o'clock.
Post 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Will not game for pulling up anchors and stuff? I would
Will,
imagine he's super good.
Will's
for-
just smashing the oranges and the Kinder Buenos.
Yeah.
That's where.
Whenever I've spent a bit of time in the chase boat for whatever reason, I mean, I'm pretty famous for putting on weight, but my goodness, I put on some weight when I'm in a chase boat.
Same here, man.
Yeah, man, it's too easy to eat the good food, isn't it?
Yeah. Me and Hendo are very disciplined at the rear.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've now decided to bring a flask of tea on most days out.
Okay.
Just when the temperature's a bit cooler and stuff,
Yeah,
because
okay.
we're stood at the back, always keeping an eye. and we have one bit of chocolate and we share it.
Really? That must be quite a special moment, actually.
Really, it's intimate.
I'm thinking Lady in the Tramp kind of spaghetti.
With a Kinder Bueno.
Similar with a Kinder Bueno.
Yeah.
Because I would often prefer the Bueno and he prefers the Twix.
Okay.
So we do come to a bit of a...
So do you do like one finger each?
No, we've an arm wrestle.
Okay. I've seen Hendo in the gym. You'd probably lose that, Steve.
Don't know. I often double back to thumb wars.
Yeah. The classic.
I'd say the same, but I have my Bueno, and then I also ate Susie's Bueno yesterday as well. So
Really?
I'm totally opposite. Yeah.
Oh, I tell lunchbox wars, they're a real thing, eh? A real thing. Right, well, let's park our quickfire questions, which never, Cam, let's be honest, they're never quickfire, are they? They often go on as the longest segment of the show. Right, a bit of a campaign update for you, Griff, from you, Griff. Big Race Boat gets here very soon. How does that change your world? Are you happy that all the skills that we're learning translate directly into RB3?
Yeah, I think most of them do. Obviously, there will be slight changes here and there, but I think my focus is probably going to be more on equipment and the position of the equipment more specifically. So, like, where the spare airs are going to sit in the boat and making sure that you guys have got decent access to them, that kind of stuff. But no, there's definitely going to be a case of when it arrives, we're going to have like a decent look at it and think, how's this going to change the game? But I think in terms of the drills and the training, there's probably not a huge amount to change. But yeah, we'll definitely have a look at where stuff lives and if it's the best place for it, and can we move it to make it more efficient and safer and that kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of the drills itself, I think a lot of it does translate a fair bit.
Yeah, and you've done a jolly good job of getting us ready for that Cornish. I remember one of the trickier drills that we've done with Griff is a watt bike on the dock with an America's Cup pod that we will be cycling in, and just talk us through that drill, bud.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the practice we go through is the underwater stuff, like we spoke about earlier, and you can picture the cockpits we're going to be in this time round. They're small; you can just about fit in them, whether you're in there as a helm crew or cyclist. And yeah, a lot of the drills we've done lately, we've had cyclists on bikes ramping the heart rate up, getting quite uncomfortable, where the last thing you want to do is end up underwater, and then trying to get your act together, get your spare air in your mouth, and find a way out of there. So, I mean, like we spoke about earlier on, it's getting familiar with those uncomfortable moments, and the more you do it, actually you realise, okay, get yourself under control, and it's not that bad.
Well, on about the third time that you've done it, it's not that bad. The first time for me, it's quite an environment you've never seen before, but gosh, so valuable for us, to be honest, so valuable. Right, so to close the pod out, we have a regular section called Grit, Rigor, Humour, and falling in line with the kind of INEOS mantras, it's plastered up all over the base. Steve, I'll come to you first. If you have a story, it doesn't necessarily have to be from sailing. I mean, I don't want to trivialise what you've done before. I know that daily you saw really gritty situations, but have you got anything that kind of stands out to you from your past life or from your time with INEOS Britannia that falls under those themes?
Very good question. Probably grit.
Yeah,
I would go with, and it's more of a sort of serious topic, and it's more around like the people you work with, especially when you work in a 999 response environment, and it's to always never neglect your colleagues. And that's the biggest one. And to grit as hard as the times may be, no matter what you're responding to or the challenges that you're faced with, it's to always check up on your friends, even when you don't feel like it, or you're tired, or you're going home after a night shift. Just grit your teeth, spend 10-15 minutes, speak to someone, because you never know that conversation is all that they possibly need just to put a closure on a scene or a job or a personal circumstance.
I love that, mate.
And that's what I always sort of live by.
I love that, mate. That's class, and that's why you're a bloody good teammate to everyone. I love that. And Griff, same question to you. Anything that sort of stands out from you? You can't really talk about your previous life too much, but like along those themes of grit, rigor, humour.
Yeah, I was thinking about this when you mentioned it before, and I did have a story did come across my mind. As I might have told a couple of lads already, but I was on the ground on an operation a few years ago, and it was during the Afghan winter, so it was a big, thick blanket of snow up to your knees, and we were in a situation where we had a barricaded shooter in a building, and we were trying to figure out how to deal with it. And we were kind of lined out outside this building, and the insurgents started throwing grenades at us, and they didn't know where we were, so they were kind of going all over the place. But one of them came flinging out and landed probably about 2 meters away from us. And there's about 5 of us all stood around this grenade. But luckily, because it was the winter and there was snow, it didn't do anything. It just kind of puffed up and just like knocked some snow into our faces, and we just kind of looked at each other and went, "Oh, that's close," and just cracked on. So I think, I guess that kind of falls in line with the grit side of things, and the humour a little bit. Just it's
wow.
Sometimes you get away with things, and you just get on with it, and you can't. There's nothing you do about it, so crack on. But I would echo what Steve said. I think the good thing about having Steve here is because it's not something I tend to do all that naturally, is you get so focused, so laser focused on, right, we've got to win the cup, which is, the correct way to think, and it's great. But sometimes you got to go, right, let's have a wind up. Let's see the funny side of things, and and that just brings everyone down to a nice, relaxed environment, which I think then you learn better and you train better and you get better. So yeah, I'd say, like, for the humour side of things, it's important, I think, just to never forget that.
Everyone's
just have a laugh,
yeah.
Even if you're doing the most elite thing in the world, whether it's saving people in 999 calls or trying to win the best sailing competition in the world, you got to try and just see the funny side of things and have a laugh as well.
Absolutely. Cool. Here, mate. And like hearing you, I could literally offline, you've told a few stories here and there, and they're an absolute privilege to listen. They're so humbling, aren't they, Cornish, listening to these elite guys and what they've done. And they're not stories to be shared for now, but it makes you realise the calibre of the personnel that we're rubbing shoulders with. Try and follow that, mate. Have you ever had a grenade thrown at you in the snow?
No. I mean, my option's easy. It's humour.
Yeah.
That's all I do. But yeah, I think, like Griff touched on, there's going to be some rubbish days, and there's going to be good days, and there's always something to have a laugh about. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It certainly brings the team together after a crap day.
Yeah.
Whether it's a wind up or just having a mutual laugh about something in the gym or in the shed, then it's part of the day for sure.
Absolutely.
I've got a few more wind-ups lined up, so just
Have
be aware
you?
of it.
Feels like the four of
Watch your
us
back.
could kind of get on board a little bit and really start ramping things up.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, lads, what an absolute privilege. Thank you so much for coming in. An absolute privilege talking to you. Thank you for giving us an insight into probably, in my opinion, the fastest growing area of Cup World alongside the technology is bringing on world-class people like you guys. And Ben, thanks for kind of sharing your side of things from the sailing point of view. And Ben, unbeknownst to you, you're going to be coming back on the pod a fair bit, to be honest. You're going to slide into a bit of co-hosting. So congratulations.
Get the debut out the way.
Get the debut out the way. You did well on debut. So that concludes this episode of Inside Tack. I have to say, like and subscribe. These episodes are going to come at you thick and fast as we wind up to the America's Cup. We're going to not just be looking at sailing team members, but like I said, the people we rub shoulders with every day, and really show you what this America's Cup team is all about. And follow us on our social media channels as well. There's going to be plenty of great content coming your way very soon. Okay, as these guys said, be excellent to each other always. Check in and have a good time on the water. And we'll see you next time on Inside Tack.